All right. Well, it is now 6:05, so I'm going to get the show on the road. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me tonight. My name is Jill Rumley, and I am the president of the Longmont Artist Guild. I am also your presenter tonight, and I'm going to be talking about my artist residency that I did last October, 2 weeks in France at the Château de Orquevaux. And I'm probably not saying that correct. My French is not good. Um, so I'm really glad everyone is here. This meeting is being recorded, so we can post it up on our website later for those who couldn't be with us tonight. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and kind of get things going. All right. All right, well, first, before we get into the presentation, I wanted to make an announcement about next month's meeting. We actually will be back at the Longmont Public Media Building at 457 4th Avenue. And Sean is going to be giving a talk about screen printing, and he'll also be doing a demo. So this information will be up on the website tomorrow if you want to find out more about it, but it'll be on March 20th. Doors open at 5:30, so we'll see everybody in person again. And we're really excited. I'm really excited to have Sean, talk about screen printing and give a demo. All right. And speaking of screen printing, the week following, we have a in-person workshop with Sean on Enter the Domain of Screen Printing. It's $45. It includes supplies, and it's Thursday, March 27th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And it's actually going to be held at the Boulder Art Association Community Center. I think I'm saying that right. Um, it's uh, it's at Wilderness Art Studios, and it's actually in North Boulder. It's very easy. It's like a really quick drive from Longmont. We have the information up on the website. If anyone's interested in signing up, registration is open. And if you're a registered guild member, you get 10% off. So if you have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email and you can visit our website. All right. So I am going to begin the presentation with this video that I found that talks about the Chateau. I felt like this video is actually going to introduce you to the people who are running it and also give you a little bit of history. And they did it in such a nice way that's a little bit better than I felt like I could put together. So the video is probably going to run for about 5 minutes, and I'm just going to go ahead and get that started now.
It has been 1 month now that the Château Route project takes you to chateaus, fortified cities and abbeys, sometimes unknown, but always with a strong historical, cultural and heritage value. We've already met so many interesting people that strive to find solutions to save their place and make it future-proof with their different point of views as part of a public or private heritage mission. The one we'll introduce you today is really one of a kind. Welcome to this new episode of the Château Route project, and today we are welcomed at the Château d'Orquevaux. Located in the Grand Est region, and more precisely in Champagne-Ardenne, Orquevaux is a tiny town of less than 100 inhabitants. Its chateau, from the end of the 19th century, is not really historically noticeable. However, when you look at its French Second Empire style, expressing bourgeoisie, balance and beauty, you may fall in love with this place. Interestingly, this place was built by a descendant of the famous philosophe des Lumières, Diderot, and owned during the 20th century by the family of Saint-Exupéry. But what is fascinating about Orquevaux is what it's now. The chateau was acquired by an Australian couple in 1987, then by the American couple Amram and Virginia Attias in 2003, and finally it was transferred to their son Ziggy Attias in 2016.
When I first came here, when I first came here, I was very, very young. I was 16 years old. 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 I I assumed I was going to have to sell it, like fix it up a little bit and sell it, because I wasn't in a position to be able to keep it. That wasn't even a conversation. So I assumed I was going to have to sell it. But very quickly I remembered that idea of when I first came here, and I thought that this could be a place for artists. And then I thought, oh, I wonder if there is a way for artists. Like I started thinking about it in a deeper way. And I started putting the word out and really didn't know if it would work, but it just gave me, it was more fun to fix the chateau up with the hope of keeping it and being able to offer it to the world, for the creative world and for artists, and for, like, there was a bigger idea there than just a wealthy family coming here and just buying it. So that gave me excitement to fix it and maybe be able to do that. And then when we put the word out that there's applications and if you'd like to come, and then people came.
Ziggy is not the guy that you will meet every day. In the past, he was a DJ and music promoter. He owned several restaurants. He directed numerous award-winning films. He also had his time as a designer and artist. And finally, he is the father of 3 daughters. He shares the management of the chateau with Beulah van Rensburg, who founded the Van Rensburg Gallery in Hong Kong and Australia, representing 35 artists worldwide. She is a practicing artist herself and director of the artist residency of the chateau. And that's the point, this chateau has been transformed into a paradise for all kinds of artists who wants to live a unique experience in a unique place, where everything is designed to push their creativity above their limits. When you look at Beulah and Ziggy's experience, you must understand the statement and know how to make this place a paradise for artists. They used every room and every space they could to offer apartments and studios for artists staying here for 2 weeks or a month. During this precious time, the artists can meet each other, practice, share and evolve in a magnificent environment. They don't have to worry about food and cleaning, everything is perfectly organized, and so they can focus on their creation. As long as works continue to open more space for years to come, we can assume that it's a successful formula. With no subsidies to help this chateau, Ziggy has no choice but find its way to fully finance the maintenance of its heritage. Even if this chateau is not really open to all the public because of its residency function, it has integrated an economical model that allows us to tell that it will be maintained as long as those residencies continue.
We'd already started working on the gallery when Ziggy had bought one of the buildings in the village, and we had the idea to make it a gallery to put the collection in. And then it started building on that, and we were talking about having more and more galleries, and that slowly kind of came about and then became much more exciting, especially as the collection was growing. And we had the idea that then you could show the artwork, but not to sell, just to bring attention to the artists. So as the artists come here, the whole village would then turn into an art village that would attract more people to not only the chateau but also to the village. And then there's all these galleries that are scattered throughout the village that people can come and see work, and sometimes come into the artists' studios and see them working, and it becomes a whole village just based around art.
Let us know in the comments what do you think about transforming a chateau into an artist residence, and if you think that it can be a model for saving other decaying castles all around France. This is the end of the video. Thanks a lot for watching, hope you liked it, and
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I felt like that was a really good overview of the chateau. I kind of wanted to let you know how the presentation was going to go tonight. There's going to be 2 parts to the presentation. Part 1 is going to cover how I discovered the residency application process, a bunch of the logistical part of doing a residency overseas. And then part two is going to cover arriving at the chateau, my expectations, what happens when things don't maybe work out or meet my expectations, the emotional upheaval and breakthroughs, and actually what I learned about myself. All right. So let me see if I can move this over here. Okay. All right. Discovering the residency. How I first learned about the residency. Well, it was on Instagram, and I discovered them pretty much right after they opened. I think they opened around 2016 or 2017. And that's when I came across them on Instagram, and I thought, wow, this is too good to be true. This is crazy. So I watched them for a few years, and I just watched them grow, and I watched the artists' experiences. I even went to the artist's page, and it's real. I couldn't believe it's actually a real place. This is what they do. So what drew me to apply? Well, I mean, you saw it. It's gorgeous. I've always wanted to go to France. I've always wanted to spend time in France and to actually be able to do an artist residency there, along with my husband Richard, who you know is a photographer. We could go as a couple. It just felt like a dream come true. And it was also our 25th wedding anniversary. So I felt like that was kind of a great way to check something off the bucket list. The application process is very, very simple. There's no application fee. You go to their website and they've got this little online form. I think it's actually a Google Doc. I'm not sure, but so you can apply for free. They ask you that to tell them about yourself. You have 500 characters, so like 2 to 3 short sentences. They want your website and social links, 5 to 6 images of your work, what you would need as far as studio needs are. Um, if you're a couple, a collaborative team, or friends, or a single applicant. And they also have grants for emerging artists that are much more affordable and have more grants and subsidies. And they also encourage diversity. So this is a worldwide residency. So people apply from all over the world, including, the Americas, but everywhere. And it's free to apply. So here is what I wrote for my 500 characters. I'm a plein air artist, and it has always been my dream to visit France and paint. I would also love to meet other artists from different countries and learn from each other. That's what I add. So it's kind of crazy. So Richard and I decided to apply on September 24th, 2022. And we were accepted by October 15th. So we were shocked, especially after we started reading this acceptance letter. Only 20% of artists that apply are accepted. It's a huge accomplishment. I mean, I don't know. I was pinching myself. I have no idea how this worked, but we were on our way. All right, so where is the chateau? Well, they explained it in the intro video, but here is a map of Paris, and of course, I've marked where the chateau is. It's yeah, it's in the Champagne-Ardenne district of France. It's about 3.5 hours by car from Paris. And we took the train from Paris to Chaumont, which is about an hour from Orquevaux. And it cost us about 50 euro. Well, it cost us 50 euro each way. So we spent 100 to go down, 100 to go back. And I gave you the current conversion for American dollars there from euros. All right, so what does the residency cost? It's not free. A 2-week individual residency retails for about $5,000. They do give you grants though, and we received a grant. It's not a financial necessity grant. I think it's just I think they kind of give everybody grants. Don't quote me on that, but that's kind of what it felt like. So the individual residency would come down to about $3,400. For couples, collaborative teams or friends, after the grants, it's about $6,400. These are the current prices. They also now offer a 3-week residency, and so here are the costs, a little bit more. And then for the emerging artists, it's the 2 weeks would be about 2,900, and a 3-week is about 4,300. Ziggy sounds like he's from the East Coast. He is actually. He's a great guy. Okay, what's included with the residency? You get a private bedroom. If you're a couple or a collaborative team, I'm not sure about collaborative teams, but couples obviously share bedrooms. They also have purchased some of the residences in the village, and so some of those have 2 or 3 bedrooms. So if there's a group of people, they can stay in one of the residences, families, that kind of thing. You do need to be 18 though to attend the residency, so there are no children. Well, 18-year-olds or children. We actually had an 18-year-old there, and she was just adorable. There's a shared bathroom. So the chateau is 4 stories and a basement, and the bedrooms are on the second floor. And we stayed on the second floor, and so there was about 10 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. So we just worked it out. It was great. We all had our routines, and we showered and did our things, and it worked out great. You get a private studio space. If you're a collaborative team, then you actually share a studio space. There's 2 locations for the studios. Above the residency, where we stay, where the bedrooms are. Above that is a floor of studios. There were, I think, about 10 studios, 10, 11, 12 studios up there. And then they converted the stables, that used to be the horse stables, into more studio space. And they actually stuck the collaborative teams down in those spaces. And also, of course, all meals. All meals are included: breakfast, lunch, dinner, and you can go in and raid the refrigerator for leftovers anytime you want. And they also provide transportation to and from the train station if you arrive by train. So here's the train at Chaumont. And then the picture on the left, this was actually when we left, and these are my friends. We were actually all on the same train, and they were being goofy. All right, so how do you budget for a trip like this? We were fortunate that we had 2 years, well, a year and a half pretty much, to save up for it. At the time you confirm your residency, you do need to pay the first third. They take credit card. It's great, no problem. At 9 months before the start of your residency, the second payment's due, and then 6 months before the start of your residency, the third payment's due. And one thing I will say is, if you're paying by credit card, make sure that your credit card company does not charge foreign transaction fees, because this is France. So if there are foreign transaction fees, you will be charged. There will be a conversion from euros to dollars. Depending upon your credit card, it's usually a fair rate. So you just have to look into that before you start charging internationally. All right, so the burning question: how did I pack my art supplies? And I'm going to take a sip of water here. All right, so I decided to bring my pastels and gouache. I applied with my pastels because at the time I felt like that was my strongest work. And gouache is very portable. So I felt like, oh, I could do this. I can paint on watercolor paper, and I can paint on my pastel paper. So I brought 30 sheets of 8x10 pastel paper. I also brought pens, journals, acrylic markers, scissors, glue, tape, water spray bottle, and my plein air pastel box. I packed half of it in one medium-sized suitcase, and then Richard got the other half. And I also plan to check out the art closet at the chateau for other supplies if needed. Oh no, let me go back. That zipped past. There we go. So this is what I packed. I packed my plein air pastel box, extra pastels, brushes, my apron. I also like to do a lot of urban sketching and journaling, so I have journals. Yeah, so I mean, I fit all of that in half a suitcase. Um, so if you don't want to bring your supplies in a suitcase like I did, our suitcase weighed 50 pounds. Other options for getting the art supplies to the chateau are pack a suitcase, ship ahead of time. So you can box up your supplies and ship them directly to the chateau. They recommend you do it 4 months ahead of time. You can order supplies from European retailers and have them shipped to the chateau. You can find an art store in Paris if you want and buy local or any other place you might be visiting before you go to the chateau, but that can be a little bit risky. And then you still have to pack all that stuff on the train and schlep it down to the chateau. So, unless you're renting a car, then that's not a problem. And Amazon delivers in 1 to 2 days to the chateau. So, people were doing that. There was an Amazon truck coming every day. Why not? Or you can visit the art closet. This is the art closet. It was also coined the Bat Cave because the first time we went in there, I guess it hadn't been open in a while, and we were all standing in there, and there was a bat, and it flew out at our heads. So we started calling it the Bat Cave after that. Um, Nobody organizes this thing. It's just got stuff in it. It has everything: acrylics, oils, paper. There's canvases. You name it, it's in there. It's used. It's not in the best shape, but if you're searching for something to do, you might find it in the art closet. All right, shipping your artwork home. You can roll it up and pack it in your suitcase. You can ship it. The Chateau has all of the things you need, the boxes, the packing, the forms, all the stuff you need to ship it from the Chateau to home. With my group, everyone's artwork and supplies arrive back home within about 2 to 3 weeks. Most of us were in America. We were all in America, so it was from France to America. Except for one person, her artwork showed up, but her art supplies got lost, went back and forth over the United States or over the ocean, and went back to the chateau a couple times. They kept shipping out. Last week, so we did our residency the first 2 weeks of October. 4 months later, it finally showed up. Its mail is not the most reliable. So you got to kind of also think about that. If it's precious, pack it with you. Or leave your supplies in the art closet for other people. All right. So how we packed for the trip, or how I packed for the trip. We did one large checked bag with art and photo supplies. And then we each had a carry-on bag plus one small backpack for our medications and also to bring one day's worth of clothing. So I packed one pair of jeans, two pairs of leggings, three short sleeve shirts, one long sleeve shirt, four pairs of socks, five pairs of panties, one sweater, one light jacket, one waterproof jacket, and two pairs of shoes and a toothbrush. And we purchased all of our other toiletries and anything else we needed after we landed. That's what we took. So it's amazing. We were gone for 3 weeks. We actually stayed in Paris before and after the residency. And everywhere we stayed actually had laundry. So we just did laundry. It wasn't a big deal. But I did have to like dress really plain. I just wore a lot of black shirts and a lot of black pants and with a sweater. You know, go for it. Why not? All right. So the big burning question, language. Yeah, this is France. The official language at the chateau, though, is English. So that's great. Although I will say that the people that work at the chateau, most of them don't speak really good English. You don't really need to communicate that much with the staff, but we had some pretty funny conversations. It was great. They're wonderful people. We stayed in Paris before and after our residency. We studied French for 1 year before we left, using Duolingo. And in Paris, pretty much everybody understood English. It really was not a problem, but everything, and I mean everything, is written in French, including the menus. So I would say, while I can't speak French, I could understand some of it, but I could read it fairly well. And I think that that was very handy. We also pre-downloaded Google Maps onto our phones. So we just had maps that we could navigate with. We did not get an international phone plan. We just went off of Wi-Fi. And so we had Wi-Fi in our hotel room. There's Wi-Fi at the Chateau. And so by having the maps downloaded, we could navigate using the sat. It worked with the satellite, and we could walk around and didn't have any problems. We would get our messages and check our emails back at the room. And so we didn't get any phone service while we were over there, unless we were on Wi-Fi. It worked out perfect. It was great. It wasn't a problem at all. All right, so that is the end of part one. Does anybody have any questions for me? You can put them in the chat or you can unmute yourself.
Jill, I was curious as to, it looked like the town you were staying in was relatively small. If, it only had 100 residents. So was there a nearer place by train or metro or cab, like if you needed a pharmacy or, a supermarket or something like that?
Yeah, so the first day that we arrived there, or the second day after the day we arrived, our first full day there, they took us to a shopping trip. The nearest place to go shopping is actually where our last stop on the train. So it was an hour
Oh,
away.
right. Okay.
Yeah, so we went there and we bought, there were some people that had some food, like gluten-free or dairy-free or this and that. And the Chateau didn't necessarily cater to that. I mean, there were lots of options, but they didn't really present gluten-free this or that. There were things that were gluten-free, but it was kind of
Would
just
you would you liken it similar to being in like a cabin type of scenario? Like think the in your manner of thinking as far as preparation and everything?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they did provide us with breakfast and lunch and dinner, and lunch was leftovers from the night before.
Right.
As far as Richard and I we didn't have any needs, so we just ate what was there. They had
Sure.
wonderful coffee machines, so we had plenty of coffee and lots of water to drink. And I did forget to mention that they have a wine cave
Oh,
and it's open from 6 to 6:20 every day. And there'll be a picture of it here pretty soon. I'll show you. But we drank a lot of wine. I'll just
yeah.
put it that way. But we did have a place to store our own food. We had a refrigerator, access to a refrigerator for any refrigerated items. Um, you know, I nobody needed to go back to the store within the 2 weeks, so I'm not sure. If you really need something, then they would definitely take you. They do have a doctor that's in a nearby town. We actually had we had a family there, and the daughter, she got sick. I don't know, she had a respiratory thing. So they called the doctor down and he did a house call. So
Nice.
yeah, so
Okay.
and everything was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's
so
see.
Jill, this is Deborah.
Hi.
Um, is there any kind of structure every day, or is it just get up and go paint?
So the meals are at specific times of the day. Breakfast is from 7 to 8. Lunch, 12:30 to 1:30 or 12 to 1. So they'll put the food out. You come and eat it if you want. And then they'll put it back away into the fridge. Dinner was at 7 every night, and pretty much everybody was expected to be at dinner. So that was basically the only structure. We did have some events where we had a talk by Beulah, a business art talk. We had a field trip to the church in town, which is just walking to the church. Um, People went on hikes. We did movie night. We did a bonfire one night. They brought in a live model for us to draw from one day. So there were a couple of, things going on, but basically it was get up in the morning, go down, grab your yogurt and your croissant and your coffee, and eat, kind of meet around with everybody, and then everybody headed up to their studios until lunch, and then we'd kind of mosey down and hang out for lunch, and then sometimes we'd go out in the afternoon or go back into your studio. So that was pretty much, I mean, we had a lot of free time, I guess is the best way to put it.
How many people were participating?
So there are typically there's anywhere between 24 and 30 people. We were supposed to have 24, but 4 people couldn't make it because they caught COVID. So we actually had a really small group. We only had 20 people. So it was very intimate and really, really nice, actually. It was nice to have a smaller group.
With that in mind, is there any kind of trip insurance or anything you get when
Oh,
you're since you're paying for this ahead of time, where if you do get
mhm.
COVID or something that's beyond your control, that you're able to get your money or like move your place up maybe for another time or something like that?
Yes, yes. So they actually recommend that you do get trip insurance. They referred us to 2 insurance companies. They were really affordable. And I think for the people that caught COVID, I think they were actually able to rebook them for another residency. So you do have to pay for your own airfare. You have to get to the chateau. So the insurance would cover that. The insurance would probably also cover the chateau if you couldn't reschedule your stay. Yeah, and they highly recommend that you get that. So that was a great question. I forgot to mention that.
Were you able to pick your own dates, or did they say, hey, you're accepted, these are the dates you are coming?
They asked us what our preferred months were, and then as we were um I think we just told them our preferred months, and then they gave us the date that they gave us. But if for some reason that date doesn't work out, if it's far enough ahead that they can kind of move things around. So they're actually really great at communicating and really flexible. Yeah.
Did,
How was
did
how
they
was the
have them
weather
like,
there in October?
I'm going to get to that in part two.
Okay.
so are they year round? Do they have them all the time?
They have them pretty much year round, although they do take off December, I believe. I think they take off December. Yeah. And it can snow there. It's not like here, but it can snow there. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the weather and all of that other stuff here, that thing. But yeah, these are great questions. Any more you can think of? All right, we can circle back at the end too. And if you pop them in the chat, I have ability to see the chat. So if I notice it, I will try to answer them as we go along. All right. So part two. This is my personal residency experience, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a disclaimer here. This is kind of a sensitive, and there might be some explicit information about my personal breakthrough experience at the residency. But I want everyone to know the Chateau is a safe and wonderful place. The people there are amazing and supportive. And this is going to be, I'm not going to say this is going to be easy for me, but this is something that I feel is really necessary to share about what it is to go to an artist residency and how everyone's experience is different.
Mhm.
And I can only speak to what my personal experience is. And so I just wanted to kind of let you guys know that it's gonna be raw, but we're gonna do it. All right. Okay. Oh, arriving at the chateau. It's nice to be married to a photographer. I get great pictures of me. All right. So this picture, the selfie of Richard and I, right when we got out of the van. Yeah, we were tired. The upper right is actually our bedroom suite. We got the corner office, and the bottom right is the view out of our bedroom. Yes, it was lovely. All right, so here's a short video of the bedroom. So I found myself, I actually didn't take that many pictures per se. I took a lot of videos. So you're going to see a few videos in here because that just kind of best describes. But so right now I'm going to just show you a bunch of pictures that happened over the 2 weeks of all the things that we did, all the fun and good times we had. I don't know if you recognize this is the salon that they actually interviewed Ziggy and Beulah in. And yep, there's the couch, and here we are. We're having happy hour, which occurred daily around 4:30. We had musicians and poets and writers, as well as 2D artists. So there was always jam sessions going on. It was quite lovely. Dinner. We weren't allowed to bring our phones to dinner, so this is why everybody's kind of looking at me like, you took a picture? They're like, Jill, you're gonna get in trouble. But I love that we have like bench seating. It's like cafeteria style.
It's okay. It's
To give
okay.
us lots of opportunity to talk. They have a small farm with goats and chickens. This is the bonfire. It was wonderful. So much fun. This is the inside of the church. And the singers actually decided to break out and sing. I don't think I managed to get that video in here. It was absolutely beautiful. This is us outside of the gallery, Diderot, that Beulah was speaking to at the beginning. We had a champagne opening, so that was a lot of fun. One of the artists did an outdoor installation, so we got to go wander through the woods and enjoy that outside. But yeah, this was us every afternoon. It was lovely. I mean, just the camaraderie and just it's we're all still talking. We all still like are in communication.
That's cool.
And this was out my bedroom window. Beautiful rainbow. An afternoon. Ah, the wine cave. The wine was affordable too. The most expensive bottle of wine in there, which was very good wine, was 30 euro. And most of them were like 10 euro. So it was really nice to have good quality wine. I thoroughly enjoyed that part. Most of us did. And I'll get into this a little bit more later in my talk, but we did a presentation at the end of our residency, and Richard and another photographer and another gal did a slideshow presentation since Richard was there on a photography residency. You may have seen his photo at the Great Frame Up. That was taken here at the residency. Here's the artists that were down at the studio, at the stables. And here's my first day at the studio. So that's where I spent my days.
Pretty dreamy.
It's a big room. I got the biggest studio because I think they were expecting Richard and I to share it. But since our bedroom was so large and it had a desk, and Richard was essentially only doing computer work after he took his photos, and he and I don't share space well. So he just let me have it. So I had the big room right in the middle of the chateau upstairs. So but most of the studios were they were very similar to that. I think mine just had the most space in it. Okay. So the very first painting I did was the view outside of my studio window. And that is the Église Saint-André de Orquevaux. That's my French. I painted it on the first day because I felt like if I didn't get something going, I was going to procrastinate. So, all right. Well, everything was going smoothly. It was first day. Did a painting, rock on. Um, I wanted to tell you it was perfect. I wanted to tell you that I came away with an amazing body of work. But that's not exactly what happened for me. Other artists that were there, they did. They came there and they accomplished. So now I'm gonna start going into the details about my experience and what I actually discovered about myself, which I think is worthwhile to share with other artists because I think it's something that a lot of us go through, but we don't talk about. All right. After the first day, well, actually, it was raining. It was raining in Paris. It was raining when we arrived at the chateau. It rained the next day, and then it rained some more.
Oh no.
Uh-huh, I know. And I had planned on being a plein air painter. My whole thing was to do plein air painting in with pastels. And you can't take pastels outside when it's wet. You can't. So, yeah, that wasn't working out for me. Um, so, I had all these great plans. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna paint outside, and I couldn't. And I could paint in my studio, but I couldn't, I have difficulty with the pastels indoors. So I wasn't able to do what I planned on doing. I started feeling uneasy. I was feeling the pressure to create, even though I couldn't go outside. So I'm like, okay, I can't go outside. I'm going to start journaling and collaging and painting with gouache to help myself relax. And there's my crazy desk. Lots of coffee cups. I visited the art cave, found some great books, started just doing whatever was, easy and simple for me to kind of relax and feel like I was creating. The coffee machine, they have these magic coffee machines. You just push the button and it comes out with this perfect, oh, espresso. Oh. So I just did a lot of experimentation. And it rained, and I mean, it rained and it rained and it rained. Oh, and I'm like, I have to get out of the building, I have to go outside. Couldn't be in the studio. Finally, on the fourth day, and time is very strange there. You're like, only 4 days. It felt like 3 weeks, really. It was crazy. The sun kind of came out. It was really muddy, but the sun was out. And my friends are like, hey, let's go plein air. And I said, okay, we're out. It's not raining on us, but the ground was so wet that we stole the cushions off the chairs and sat on them on the grass, and we still kind of got soaked through. But thank goodness for friends. I was kind of in a funk, and they're like, "Come on, let's go." And so we went out, and I created this painting of the chateau. And so that kind of, reignited my motivation because it started raining again immediately. But, it was wonderful to be outside. And I got this brilliant idea. Everyone is doing huge paintings, like they're unrolling canvases and stapling them to the walls or rolls of paper. And, they're doing these grandiose things. And I'm like, oh, I've got little 8x10s. So I thought, hey, I'm just going to tape them to the wall and create this, what is it, 24 by 30 pastel. And so I said, okay, I can do this. It's going to be great. I've got a mask, I've got gloves, I'll open the window, I'll bring the fan up. It should be just fine. And this is what I created. It's unfinished, um, but that's about as far as I got. I actually like it, but it was a little bit sad. I worked on that painting for 3 days and I started to feel sick. Had fatigue, I was wheezing, I was coughing. Um, it wasn't a cold, I wasn't sick. It was the pastels. I was having a reaction to the dust and they were making me sick. So it was really tough to admit, but I was not going to be able to paint pastels indoors, period. I can't do it at home. I usually only do plein air painting with pastels here. I couldn't do it. Um, and it started kind of dawning on me that I was forcing myself to stick with pastels because I thought that's what they expected of me. I applied with pastels. This is what I brought. This is what I'm doing, even though, I work in a lot of other mediums, but I thought, oh, I have to do pastels. And we were about halfway through the residency at this point, and I think I neglected to say that we arrived on a Wednesday. So a weekend is the following Wednesday. And this is one of the most pivotal moments of my residency was Beulah's art business talk. And she's just adorable. She's so shy. But she's just really a wonderful resource for information. She gives a business talk, you can go there. We had great questions. It was informative. I've got a book full of notes, and that's a whole different lecture. I can talk to people about at some other point, but the thing that really stuck to me and what came into my head is that the worst critic is the one that lives in your own head. And she talked about artists who lack confidence. She says, artists who lack confidence will point out flaws in their work. And some artists will downplay the quality of their work by using humor. This frame of mind ends up with the artist sabotaging self-confidence and can result in self-censorship. Man, that really hit me hard. It hit home. I'll just put it that way. And I was already feeling emotional because I wasn't able to paint. My expectations that I set for myself were not being met. I was in this beautiful place and I felt like I wasn't able to take advantage the way I wanted to, take advantage of the opportunity the way I wanted to. I felt like I was failing. Imposter syndrome. So I was already struggling with self-esteem and artistic identity. I'm sure I'm not alone with that. I picked up painting in 2016, but when you start painting doesn't mean you just become an artist then. You're an artist your entire life. I was a photographer, I did graphic design, so there was a build up to it, but I kind of really felt like I started calling myself an artist when I started oil painting. Um, this really hit me hard. I hit bottom. I couldn't create. I was spending a lot of time, in the bedroom alone. I went for walks, even in the rain. My friends got me out. They took me on hikes and stuff, into the village. I had a lot of support, but I didn't create for a couple of days. I couldn't. I was stuck. Um, the pastel situation was not good, and I cried a lot. It took me about a day after Beulah's talk. I did a lot of reflecting and thinking about what my emotions were bringing up and everything that had said and what my friends were saying to me and how much I have been holding back in my art. And you guys know I'm always making jokes. I'm always cracking jokes. Well, I do it when I'm showing people my artwork too. It's just a gut reflex. Someone said to me that, oh, you hurt yourself before somebody else can hurt you. That's why you do it. Could be. It's something that I'm working on, and it's just one of those things. Yeah. So I use humor to point out flaws in my work. I do this to distract others because I'm afraid I don't have enough education or experience. I don't have an MFA. I've actually got a degree in psychology, a bachelor's degree in psychology. My background's in accounting and computers. I'm not an artist. I'm an imposter. And, you know, we all create art. Some people will find their niche and paint, 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 and do their thing. And I'm still exploring. I'm still finding my voice. And I've done some bodies of work that I hide. I've actually hidden them, except for a few people that I've shown and discussed this with. And I really started thinking about that. I thought, part of being an artist is, I mean, you don't have to show all your work, but when you create a body of work that is from so deep inside you, um, it takes a lot of courage to show that to people. And I was even hiding work that I was doing in the studio in the chateau. Like if I was hiding stuff, I was making it and hiding it. I wouldn't let people see it because it wasn't my art, but it was my art. But I just didn't know how to handle how I was feeling about it. So this is a fun part. So how I turned a collector away from loving one of my artworks. The Gallery Diderot in Orquevaux Village. It's a it's a resident artists gallery, meaning the gallery only has artwork from people who attended residencies at the Chateau. Beulah and Ziggy visit each artist's studio towards the end of our residency. I think it was towards like Friday on that second week. And they review your work and provide feedback on what you did during the residency. And usually they select a piece to add to their permanent collection at the gallery. Oops, I misspelled it there. Diderot in Orquevaux Village. So what an opportunity. Not only do you get to have this residency, but oh, thank you, Deborah. You get to have your artwork in a gallery in France, and their vision of having this be an art village and people coming in. I mean, the exposure it's incredible, right? The potential is just amazing. So, you'd think that all this reflecting and, thinking about things that, I'd know better by now. All right, so Ziggy and Beulah visited my studio. So they were immediately drawn to the 3 pastel paintings that I had hung up. And they asked me, "Oh, are you going to finish that large one of the Chateau?" Because, a painting of the Chateau, they love that. And I was like, "No, I can't." I said, I'm feeling unwell. The pastels are making me sick." And, they seemed disappointed, but they, provided great feedback on what they loved about the piece and what they saw in the painting. And they encouraged me. They're like, "You should really finish this at home. When you get home, you should finish this." So again, here is the painting. And these are the areas that they commented on. They loved the work that I did with the trees. The colors were just starting to turn in that part of France. So I was incorporating fall colors. I had done a lot of work on the trees. That was my favorite part. And they really loved my cloud. Ziggy said I should paint large paintings of clouds. I actually don't think that's a bad idea. So I'm actually working on that right now, but my little cloud. Anyway. All right. So then they moved on to the painting of the chateau that I did plein air with my friends. And Beulah really liked it. She really, really liked it. And this is the one. And then I said to her, "Yeah, I like it too. But the building's kind of wonky." Wow. What was I thinking? I wasn't thinking. It was horrifying, actually. And I didn't even know I said it at the time. But she gave me a polite smile and then moved on to the last painting. And I could tell that Um, Ziggy really wanted the big one, and that Beulah did too. And I could tell that they really, really wanted to take one of my art pieces and put it in the gallery. And so they settled on the very first painting I did the first day of my residency, which is of the church. So this is actually not a very good picture of it, but this painting is actually in the gallery in France. So they did select one of my paintings, ironically, the very first one I did. So later that day, I thought, oh my gosh, I just turned a collector away from a piece she loved. Because I said it was wonky. You don't realize like these comments, how they affect not only the person that's interested in your art, but the self-talk, you know, inside you. It really hurt. Um, I was pretty devastated, but I was excited that they took a painting, but I felt like they settled. I felt like they didn't really get the one that they wanted, one that could have possibly really showcased my abilities. Um, yeah, I've success, but bittersweet. So, I don't know, how many of you have studios alone. I think most of us work alone when we paint. And, it's easy to get trapped in your own head and with feedback only coming from your inner critic. Um, the little voice isn't always negative, but it can become pretty harsh, especially when a piece doesn't go as planned or as you think its plan should go. Um, for the longest time, I thought, oh, this is just part of the process. You're supposed to be critical of your work. You're supposed to like criticize and be mean to yourself in order to get better. And, during my stay at the Chateau, I just had a major aha moment about the way I talk to myself and the way I talk to others about my art. I mean, there's very rarely a piece that I show somebody where I don't point out a flaw in it, and I'm working on that. But even this week I did it, and it's something that is very hard to move past, but it's something that can be worked on. It's just a matter of building confidence. Um, I would also say I'm still new or I haven't found my voice. Um, I make jokes about parts of work that I'm uncomfortable with or parts that I know I lack skill, like in perspective or, in doing like the correct dimensions of a form or a body. So I would say, oh yeah, well, that arm's kind of long and that head's weird and oh, look at the hair, it's bad, I say things like that. And, it kind of dawned on me that the self-talk is more than a passing mood. It becomes a feedback loop. And your criticisms and self-doubt feed into how you feel about your work and yourself overall. And it just doesn't serve you well. It didn't serve me well. It's still not serving me well. So it's something, that I'm working on. And with the support of the artistic community, I think it's really important that we support each other. So, what I really learned is that a lot of this stems from fear of failure, fear of not measuring up, fear of not being good enough. And when I'm afraid, I censor myself, meaning that I either will hide work or I will avoid doing work or ideas that I have because I'm worried about what other people will think of me. Um, I censor my art and I let others censor my art. And I don't show who I really am. I mean, I paint pretty landscapes and I paint cute, animal pictures, but there's a lot more to me than that. There's a lot more going inside, and I feel like what I have to share to the world with the world is valuable, but I don't because I'm afraid. I'm afraid people won't understand. I'm afraid of confrontation. I'm also afraid, of offending someone or someone taking it the wrong way. I'm also afraid that I'll be made fun of. So the whole bullying thing, weird, but adults still bully each other sometimes. Rare, but it does happen. I've had it happen to me. But for the sake of honesty, I'm no longer going to censor myself. I'm going to tell you the truth. And when I don't show the world who I really am, I hurt inside. And so going through the process of putting this talk together, I struggled with what I was going to say. My first draft, only talked about all the happy things. But I figured out a few days ago that if I left out parts like this whole part about my experience, I would be censoring myself again. And then, everything that I went through at the chateau, that emotional upheaval, the learning process, the coming to terms with things, it wouldn't have taught me anything. So that's why I'm sharing this part with you now. A few years ago, I went through a class for discovering my artistic voice. In the class, it was guided by a licensed therapist, and through the class, I discovered childhood trauma around expressing myself artistically. Working through that trauma, I created a body of work called Shame. Actually, I initially called it Anger because I was really angry. But the body of work actually ended up being called Shame because shame was the source of my anger. And the works are bold, they're emotional, they depict the traumas that women experience through life, sexual trauma, societal trauma, baggage from our parents, the way our mothers treat us, the way our mothers speak to us, raise us, all sorts of stuff. And I've been terrified to share this work publicly and to discuss it because, it's very raw. It's my deep part, my shame. I even read the Brene Brown books. That woman's a rock star, but boy, it's not easy to talk about these things. I was having an identity crisis at the chateau, and I wasn't able to create the art I thought I should do there. The pastels. I was working on other pieces and I was hiding them. I mentioned that before because I wasn't happy with what I was creating. Somebody actually came in when I was painting something. It was on a round piece of paper, and I actually flung it across the room and said, you don't want to see that. And she kind of looked at me like, what did you just do? I literally threw what I was working on across the room. I was not happy. But my friends came in and they're like, look, Jill, we've got this open studio coming up. Why don't you just make an installation about your journey here and just hang everything up? We love you. We love what you're doing. We love, we support you with what you're going through. We've been through it, or we're going through it too. And so I did. I hung everything up. And I was in the process of putting together my installation, and I had this pivotal moment from an unexpected source, my husband. So I was trying different things, and I tried to do a sketch, a painting in gouache, and I was trying to paint like a still life of this lichen branch that I found. There's lichen branches everywhere there. Like I wanted to bring them home, but I couldn't. Anyway, so I was trying this still life thing. It didn't turn out. I just didn't work. So, I went ahead and instead of the lichen branch, I went ahead and I had Posca pens, acrylic pens, and I colored over it to hide it because I didn't like it. And I kind of left it half covered, half not. And after I had everything up, Richard stopped by the studio and he walked in and he took a look around and he says to me, why do you have a picture of a penis on your wall? I'm like, what? I was mortified. This has been hanging up there. Nobody said anything to me about anything looking remotely erotic. And I took a look at what he was talking about, and I'm like, oh my God, I see a penis peeing on a bush. That's what I see. And he's like, yeah, that's what I see too. And so I'm like, I've got to change it. So I rip it off the wall. And I altered it so it didn't resemble anything remotely erotic. And again, it took, I don't know, I think it was a few days, it was probably just a day. And I'm like, what happened here? I let someone else's opinions affect my art. Don't worry, Richard and I talked through it. And we still actually have a good laugh about the whole thing. So there it is. So yeah, it I don't know if it's still I don't know. I still don't know if it looks like a penis now or not, but I don't know. Anyway,
It's
this
a
is
futuristic penis, Jill. It's very
right.
futuristic, very cyberpunk.
Very cyberpunk, exactly. So I know it's this whole thing around sexuality and body parts and genitals and things that I hold a lot of shame around. So I just find it interesting that, he was just making an observation. He didn't tell me to change it. It wasn't like I had to, like he said, oh, you can't have a penis on a wall. What are you doing? It was more like, why do you have a penis on your wall? And if I would have just said, because I drew it, he would have been okay. But instead, I went into a shame spiral and altered it. So, again, learning process, learning about what my triggers are, even in a safe and loving environment, how I can so easily be triggered about things. Lots of work. All right. So I'm going to take a drink of water. We're in the home stretch. All right. Open studios. So at the finale of every residency, we hold an open studios. And what that is it's a whole day activity. After breakfast, we gather in the dining room and we forgot I had slides for this. We gather and each artist gives an up to 5-minute talk about their experience at the Chateau. So we broke it into separate parts. So the first part was the artists upstairs. So those of us that were upstairs in the Chateau gave our talk. And, it was amazing. Like we were all crying and laughing and like it was just really special moment. And I gave the boldest talk of my life. I shared everything I shared with you here in that talk. I talked for 4 minutes and 58 seconds. I had it timed to the minute, and it was really wonderful. I mean, it may have been in my imagination, but I felt like the whole room erupted in cheers, and I got a standing ovation after my talk. Mine was the most bold, open, and raw talk because I shared all of this with everyone. I had tremendous support. So, being at the Chateau is a deep growth experience. So many emotions, connections, ups and downs. One of the best part of the open studios too is that while we're touring the studios, we have post-it notes that we take with us and we write comments and leave notes for everybody in their studios. It's an all-day event, and then we end with it at the gallery where they have the artwork they've chosen hung up there, and we have a little party. It's really, really special. So I'm like, oh, I can't go in there and see what people wrote yet. I just can't. So I waited until the morning. And of course, I walked in and looked in, walked around, and then I thought, oh, I need to video this because this is incredible. So this video shows the installation that I did. I broke out into 3 phases. I did a part about childhood, I did a part about exploration, and I did a part about conformity. There are some poems in there. Unfortunately, my video isn't long enough for you to read the poems. If you're interested, I can share with those with you later. But this video is probably 4 minutes or so. So I'm just gonna let you absorb the studio experience. All right, guys. I'm just seeing your comments now. Thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it. I bonded with them there, but I came home to my people, and I love all you guys so much. And yeah, so we also take a portrait on the steps of the chateau. So here's our residency class of October 2024. And yes, no, thank you so much for giving me space, and I'm really grateful for your support.
Pretty remarkable, Jill.
Thanks, guys. And there's
Jill,
Richard.
were all those people Americans or were they from all over?
So we were all Americans except for two. One gal was from Canada and another gal was from Tasmania. And the four people that were supposed to come, I believe two were French, and I think the other two were Americans also, or one Canadian and one American. There were two couples that didn't make it. Ironically,
So
so
they were all English speaking then.
yeah, everybody was English speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a first language. And yeah, it was I'm gonna stop sharing here. Um, yeah, it was so just wonderful. I mean, in all different age groups, from people in their early 30s, late 20s, all the way up to, in their 70s. And I mean, the people, like we had this one guy, Gary Storm, he is a musician and he interviewed all of these famous stars like in the early 70s. He was a DJ in like, I don't know, New York or something. And he just has this list of people that he's got pictures with. And we're like, what?
Right.
And just these people have had such history and life stories. And the young people that were just coming up, the gal from Tasmania, she's just turned 30 actually, like a couple weeks ago, and she just got a book published, a historical
Wow.
fiction book published. And it's just so lovely to meet, just these people, and she's just adorable. I mean, she and I kept running into each other at the coffee machine, and I've got this wonderful video of us just laughing while the coffee machine's making coffee because that's what we were doing all the time. And yeah, I mean, another gal, she worked on the set for Saturday Night Live. Now she works on the set for what is it, morning show.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
I mean, people that have published books and people that have, 300,000 followers on Instagram, but they were all just people like us, just like us, and they're just artists doing their thing. And yeah, I mean, the writers were incredible. Like this one gal, she did a poem about, it was just so deep. It was about a bombing in a country. It was undefined, but it was about a mother dying, laying on her dead son and dying with him. And it was like, "Ah." But I mean, it was just so powerful the way it was done. I mean, so yeah, I don't know. But all in all, you know, how did I've never gone to a residency before. I've never applied to a residency before. I just think that this was the right time and the right place.
Mhm.
It was
Yeah.
just sheer luck. But it's free to apply. So, I mean, why not? And I mean, if you're interested in any other residencies, all you have to do is Google residencies in a location and all these lists come up. I mean, there's one, a girlfriend of mine she lives in Wyoming. She's doing a residency in northern Wyoming in a few months, and it's free. They're giving her free housing and stuff, and they're giving her $100 a week stipend to be up there. But talk about remote. It's very, very remote. Like Sean was saying, go into the cabin. She's got to bring
Right.
all of her stuff with her, including food. They don't feed her. So she'll have a kitchen and everything. But there's all different kinds. I've wanted to go to down to the Georgia O'Keeffe. Oh, escaping my brain. A lot of artist residency, Residencies or
Abiquiu?
the which?
Abiquiu?
I
That
think
was Georgia O'Keeffe's home, Abiquiu. Not Albuquerque, but Abiquiu.
the queue. And then what is it called? Her anyway, they do sometimes they'll do like a one weekend or a week long like artist retreat kind of thing there. I mean, they're all over the place. And yeah, you
So
could
does that mean that you would do another one?
um it's interesting. I think so, but I learned a lot from this.
I'm
And
sure you
I
did.
don't yeah, I'm wondering if I need more structure. Um, I go with Richard. Richard does these photography trips where it's like 4 nights and they take them out into these locations that the public doesn't have access to so they can get these amazing photos. And um, he likes to do those and I go with him, but we're on different schedules because he's out all night and anyway, but yeah, it's I think I would, but I have to kind of get my act together, I think, before I do it again.
But Jill, look at you did get your act together. What you presented today.
Yeah, I agree with Fran.
God,
Like, yeah,
I'm in awe of you that you even applied. I mean, I
yeah.
would even think about it. And the fact that you allowed yourself to be so vulnerable and to share what you've learned and I mean, you are not alone. I kept writing that to you.
Oh, thank you.
In the last 2 months, I was going to I have at least 3 times decided I am no longer going to be an artist. Okay, I've stopped this. Okay, so I could understand where you're coming from, and we've all been there for one reason or another in
Yeah,
our life, part of the process.
Absolutely.
And especially when you're learning something new, and especially when you have to be so vulnerable because you feel like you don't know what the hell you're doing and all that stuff. Okay. But thank you, thank you, thank you. I just love you for sharing this. So
Yeah.
I really
thanks,
appreciate
guys.
Everything you referenced about the imposter syndrome and about making jokes about the flaws in our
Yep.
artwork. I
Yep.
mean,
Yep.
I'll do that to people that are going to buy a print and I'll start going, well, I messed this up and I messed that up. It's like, what are you doing? Like when you mentioned how you said your the big painting of the chateau wasn't finished, or they were like, oh, are you going to finish this? Like now to just be like, it is finished. Don't you get it? Like, don't you get what I'm doing here? It is finished. It's conceptual. So it's like, but yeah, whenever I speak to more, professional artists or people I guess have sold more or whatever, they don't do, they just talk about their work very matter of factly. But now you've done that whole expansion now, which takes a lot of bravery and a lot of courage for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And, even after I gave my talk, one of the artists was in the studio and we were looking at it and I said something and she just looked at me and she goes, you did it again. Don't do that.
And every time you do that, I'm going because you've done it when I'm saying something to you too. I'm going to stop you.
Everybody has permission to say, Jill.
No, don't do that.
And we'll
Right,
do that for each
now
other.
we're all listening.
We'll do that for each other, guys. Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
it's such a fine line between understanding your level of legitimate talent, but then also not taking that level of talent. Like you don't want to be delusional either and think you're this
I want to be delusional.
Why
virtuosic,
not? Why
but at
not?
the same time, you have to understand when you did make something cool to just let it be awesome and not nitpick it. But that's learned. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think you got, even if you didn't come back with a whole group of paintings, or it seems like you got more than enough of the experience and the expansion that you would want out of the residency. It makes
Yeah.
me want to do one, put it that way. It makes me want to do one.
Yeah.
And
Just
I
want to say
recommend this
thank you.
place. I mean, this place is just, it's just the best.
Well,
I've
I
heard,
want to say thank
with
you for
any
sharing so much of what you learned with this with me before the winter art show when I was trying to get all my artwork together.
yeah.
Everything about the imposter syndrome and all of that. And it's just amazing to actually see your whole presentation about all of it and how you got there. But I just want to thank you because all the wisdom you gained really did help me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Nina. Appreciate that. Well, I'm so glad that, again, I was a wreck this week, like reliving the whole thing. And it was a tough week, but I felt like as soon as I decided to share the authentic, true story, I actually felt better. So I felt
And
like
we're
it was
glad you did that. We're very glad you did.
oh, thanks,
Very,
guys.
very appreciative of you.
Absolutely, 100%. Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate it. Well, so Sean's on here. He's the one talking. He's the one that's going to be giving our presentation next month and the workshop, screen printing workshop. Exciting, exciting.
I'm looking forward to it. I have my PowerPoint ready. I'm ordering supplies now. I think the only thing, Jill, that I don't know if we can communicate this, but people will probably want to bring an apron or wear clothes that can get dirty. I don't know if that goes without saying in a printmaking workshop. We won't be getting filthy, but there's a chance you will not want to be wearing nice clothes, I suppose.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't have enough aprons for everybody. I don't, because I don't know how many people are going to be there.
Okay.
But other than that, yeah, I'm ordering supplies now and I'm back in the studio printing myself. So I'm super stoked for both the demo and the workshop. It'll be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, Jeannie's on here. She's the president for the Boulder Art
Oh, nice.
Association.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so it's their space we're going to be.
Yeah, thank you for
working
letting
in.
us use it. I'm super stoked. I think Jill and I are going to try to get in there at some point and check everything out and get the lay of the land. I'm all the way up here in Greeley, so I haven't been in there before. So
Ah, wow, really? Okay, yes, we're happy to have you. We call it the community studio because we want to welcome all
cool.
sorts of folks and different projects and workshops and
Yeah, we love collaborating.
Oh yeah, heck yeah.
For sure, for sure. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for sticking around to the end.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Jill.
It
Thanks
was
for having us.
amazing.
All right.
Have a good
Thanks
night,
so
everyone.
much.
Yep.
We'll see you
Good night,
soon.
everybody.